Hello, welcome back to the channel. So we had a couple of significant night freezes over the past few days. One was early Wednesday morning, something like between 1 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and the temperature dropped down to 28 degrees, I believe. Very cold, hard freeze. And then Thursday morning was much of the same, except it didn't get quite as cold. It's a slight difference between 28 and 33 degrees, something along those lines, 32. Whatever it was, they were both significant freezes. On the upside, my collards did very well. The garlic and onions, relatively unbothered. The carrots are just fine. I did lose some radishes. C'est la vie, it is what it is. And there's a lot of other plants around the garden that did get quite hit hard. I've already cut out what remained of my dahlias, but today I'm going to cut down and remove my cannas. Now, I have two batches of cannas, and in the flower garden, I should say. I think I have cannas elsewhere in the garden, but in the flower garden, I have two batches, and one is a shorter variety, appears. I do not know the names of these cannas. Both of them do flower red. The one batch only got to about, let's say 2.5 feet tall. I'm just gonna cut those back, and then I'll mulch over those and let them go for remain there for the winter, and then I'll decide whether in the springtime if I want to move them or not, but as of this moment, I do not want to move them. The second group of cannas I have is the 5-foot tall variety. You may have seen in some of my previous videos. I'm going to cut those back today, and I'm going to dig them up. And the reason is because I don't like where they are. So I'm going to dig them up, and then we're going to divide them. Some of them are going to get replanted, and I think some are going to go into storage. I think that's the plan for today. Now, though we did have a couple of nightly freezes, tonight is supposed to be something like 43, 44, and then over the weekend it's supposed to be nightly lows in the 60s. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jason, and I'm here in Eastern North Carolina, growing zone 8B. So we just had a dip, and now temperatures look like they're going to go back up, with possibly a high over the weekend of something like 65, I believe. So I'm going to stop prattling now, grab my gloves, grab some clippers. I want to start chopping and digging. Now you can see how these are all browned, and they're pretty done. The frosts have again killed them back. So I'm just going to trim them down to the ground. And again, I'll probably just mulch over for the season. And if I want, I can always dig them up, apparently, according to the interwebs, and replant in the springtime. And all this will just go to the compost pile, which will make great compost for next year. All right, that's all done, and now you can see what I have left, just a bunch of nubs. Now the small one's done. Now I got to tackle this big one, and there's a lot here, so let me get cracking. Okay, so here we are, and you can see all the stems that I've left that are poking up above the ground. But unfortunately, it appears that some of this has kind of grown into or around some other plants, especially looks like that clary sage over there. So what I'm going to attempt to do, or try to do, is dig up this canna without disturbing the surrounding plants too much. Well, there it is, all removed. This is the, took quite a bit, clumps and the masses that I pulled out. It's quite a bit. And up by the iris, there's a anthill. So the ground is now teeming with ants. Oh, since I have this nice little crater, I'm going to take the opportunity to throw in some compost. And I lost one of the clary sages, but I think I'm able to save the other Shasta daisy, I believe that is. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this back in, and then we'll take the clumps into the veg garden and clean them up there. Well, here it is. I got actually 2 full buckets out of that mess that was in the ground there. Not all of these are going to be viable, simply because of the way I chopped or tore them apart. But there is more than enough here for, I don't know, maybe a dozen plants. I have to go through, sort them, and see what's what. So let me take you over to the potting bench, and I'll show you a couple examples of what I think is no good and what I think is good. And if you think I'm wrong about any of this, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me pull up an example of what I think or what I know. All right, let's put it this way. I'm 95% certain this is good. In fact, this could probably be, here we go. So theoretically, we're gonna let this dry out. It actually feels pretty dry already. But I have these 2 growth points right here on this root, I guess you call it. But then I've got these nice healthy roots coming off of it. So hypothetically, if I planted this out, I should get a new plant. Again, if you think I'm wrong about any of this, feel free to leave those comments below. I will leave these divisions, at least all the ones I think are good, out overnight to dry, and then I can plant them out tomorrow. Now here's one. Here's a perfect example. And let me just show you. So I had a stem coming up here, and I have a growth point right here. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully that's in focus. I think it's in focus. It's hard for me to tell from the little display on my camera. But now I've got this chunk. Right now, on this piece right here, there are no growth points. So this probably would not make a plant. It does have roots. It could, but there's no growth point. So chances are it may not. So I throw that in the compost pile and then go from there. Now where I tore it is obviously a bit of an open wound. That's why you got to let it dry overnight, let it heal. But this one piece right here, with where the old stem was and the new growth point, should produce another plant. So this one should be okay. If you think I'm being rough with these plants, if you think I'm doing something wrong, and I could very well be doing something wrong because I'm only a novice gardener, please leave those comments below. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Help me out here. Now this one, and this is the old stem, and I have multiple growth points. Theoretically, I could pull this one off, and it could, because it has growth points and it has roots, so theoretically I could pull this off as long as I leave this growth point and the rest of the roots on. But I'm not going to. I'm going to leave this as one plant. You know, sometimes we can get too far. We can get carried away with dividing plants. So I will leave this as is. This should be a valid plant right here. All right, I'm just reaching into the bucket, grabbing the next one. And this one, as I look at, again, stem, I see growth points. I'm going to leave this one again as is. I don't want to divide too much. I'm sorry with the light here. I mean, I could maybe divide it once more, pull this guy off, but I don't think so. I think I'm gonna leave it as is. Now here's one. It's really small. I've got this gaping wound over here at this end, but I do have a growth point. And I have a growth point over here, and I have some roots. Theoretically, this could be a plant, but I'm gonna put it into the I don't think so pile. I mean, it could very well grow. Let me know your comments below. Like I said, this may grow into a plant, but I'm going to put it in the I don't think so. It needs to go into the compost pile. I'm not going to go through each and every single one. I have dozens here maybe that I can keep, sort, but I'm going to go through these By the way, it's Thursday, not Friday, when I normally do my videos, when I make my videos. And it's a good thing I did this because this is a pretty large undertaking. So I'm going to go through these, sort them out, let them dry out overnight, and then I'll catch up with you guys in the morning. And we're back. Yeah, this is actually my second time filming this because the first time I didn't have the mic on. Let me check. Yes, I have the mic working now. So last night I finished cleaning up the, giving you a nice example here, the Canna. And here is one of the many, many, many divisions that I have. This is one of the bigger ones, and there's some smaller ones, there's some bigger ones. So I hosed them all off, got off a majority of the dirt. I was doing some more homework last night, and I discovered that they need to be in a warmer place for the skins to harden off so they can survive a prolonged period in storage. So yeah, I started moving these into the greenhouse, and I'll move the rest of these just as soon as we get done here. But I'm laying them out on the bench, and they should be within a week, they say, basically dry. I got over 24 divisions when all was said and done. I took 8, and I took a gamble, and I planted them back out in the garden. And when I say I took a gamble, I didn't give them time for the wounds to heal from the divisions. I just basically put them right back out into the garden. There's a total of 8 out there. I planted them in clumps of 2 to 4. And I planted them about 3 to 4 inches deep, which from what I've read on the internet, you need to plant them from 2 to 4 inches deep. So, and down here in growing zone 8B, I don't have to worry about the ground freezing, but I do have to cover them up with mulch, make sure they're covered. Otherwise, they may get damaged by the freeze or frost that we get, because we do get freezes and frosts. We just don't get extended periods of cold that allows the ground to freeze. That's why I can leave some of my cannas in the ground, just have to mulch over the top, and they'll be fine. Now, the rest of these, I'm going to be storing in a box once they dry out for long-term storage in the garage, and I'll just cover them with peat moss that I have. And the rest, because I have so many, I'm not going to keep all of these. So what I'm going to do is some of them are going to go to family and friends as Christmas gifts, I think, and the remainder, I don't know. If I put them on my Etsy store, would you guys be willing to buy them? I don't know. Oh, that would be fun, right? You know, I can put up some of the, because there's over 24 here. Well, not here alone because I put some in that greenhouse, but there's a lot. So I could put some of them up for sale on my Etsy store. If you guys will, if you guys would be interested in buying 5 foot tall, roughly unidentified cannas with red flowers, I don't know. But if you guys would be willing to, if you guys are interested in that, again, leave those comments below. Let me know. And if there's enough of you interested, maybe I'll do that. I'll throw them up on the Etsy store. If you haven't visited my Etsy store, there's a link right here, and you can go over and check that out. Right now, I have just a bunch of prints. I have some magnets. I will be putting up new items this upcoming week, perhaps even this weekend, and maybe even these cannas if you guys are interested. So again, I'm not an expert on any of this. This is just from a lot of what I've read on the interwebs. This is my first year dividing canna. So they obviously grew to success, and now I divided them. So we'll have to see what the future holds with these. If you have any thoughts or comments, any questions, please feel free to leave them below, especially you expert gardeners out there, or gardeners who have been gardening most, if not all of your lives, with a lot more experience than I have. So I'd be open to hearing any and all suggestions. Now, some of you may have already dug up your cannas, especially if you live up in the northern climates. And if you live in a northern climate, you definitely have to dig up your cannas because they won't tolerate a ground freeze. Again, I'm in growing zone 8B. I don't have ground freezes, so yay. I just have to make sure they don't get affected by a surface frost, that kind of thing. So again, I mulch over the tops. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click the bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, because we'll have to wait and see if the 8 that I planted out survive the winter and if they come up in the springtime. That would be interesting. Or because I didn't let the wounds heal, are they going to wind up rotting and dying in the ground over the winter? Who knows? I also don't know what kind of winter we're going to have, whether it's going to be extremely wet or dry, but that's to be seen. So if you haven't checked out my Etsy store, please check out the Etsy store. If you haven't purchased my book, please go over to Amazon, give that a check that out. Maybe grab yourself a copy for Christmas. All the links to things like my merch, the book, Etsy store, etc. are all in the linked below in the description. So check those out. And Sophie, anything else you can think of? No, she can't think of anything else either. She just wants to be put down so she can go play with a stick or something. There you go. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.